Hey Zedders, how you going? Christian here from Doofy Racing. We've got just under 4 hours to go for the next horse drop. So there's a heap of new users into the platform looking to buy their first horses. This is a quick video to reference where to go for information. And I'm also going to drop some new content on something that I've been building out over the last few days in terms of what the different breed types are, in terms of what percentage you have of getting a really good racehorse, a really great racehorse, if all of the horses were to compete together. That's a really key point there that we'll touch on. So I'm going to keep this one short. Let's get into it. We'll come back to that in a sec. So for those of you who haven't yet, head over to my website, doofyracing.com. And what you want to do is find your way to the tips section. So two key videos to be looking at here and blogs. First one to look at is the beginner's guide, which I did a few weeks ago. This is going to have a heap of content out there for people who have been racing as well, but also explains some key information for the next video that I am going to share with you. So jump in, have a look at that video. These prices are irrelevant now, obviously, but that's going to give you some really good tips and tricks to racing. The other one, which is really important to have a look at, is buying your first racehorse on Marketplace. This goes in depth into what horse I would be buying and why, based on what budget, and then also just a bit of sort of content around why you should be focusing on buying a few horses versus one if you're planning to race that horse and breed with it into the future. So jump in there, have a look at that content as well. What we're going to look at now is just something that I've been building out here. And apologies, this is very rough, but it's a really good visual to give you an idea of what I've been explaining to a lot of people who have been coming in and buying sort of premium horses and trying to understand why there's such a premium on the marketplace price for those horses. So over the 9 months of racing, this is what I have noticed. And this is not based by actual data at the moment. I am building this out and it will obviously look a lot nicer, but I expect that it would be very close to looking something similar to this. And what we go through here are the different breed types for Genesis 1 through to 10. And if every single horse was racing at exactly the same class in exactly the same race, please keep that in mind. These are your averages in percentage of actually getting a great, good, average, not good, and shit horse if they were competing at the same level. Now, what I mean by that, we have a class system in Zed, classes 1 through to 5. All of these great horses do work their way up to the great. If you can think about 5 different classes here, all of the great ones in class 1, good ones class 2, class 3 is your average class 4 is your not so good class, and then class 5 is your shit class. Now, when you buy a Z10 Buterin, it will probably start in class 5. Now, if you pick up a good racehorse, it's going to make its way through the classes up to class 2, and that's quite common, in terms of how many horses are out there in class 2 as a Z10 race horse. I'd say it's about 7.5%. So that's what I'm basing this off. So like I said, this is just me basing it off what I have seen and my experience in Zed. This is not based on actual data, so please keep that in mind, and it may change slightly, I think, as we work through the data exactly. So just to explain this spreadsheet, blue is your Nakamoto Z1, Z2. Green is your Zabo Z3, Z4. Finnies are your, orange are your Finnies Z5, 6, and 7. And then Buterin are red is your Buterins Z8, 9, and 10. On the left, we have the number of horses as a percentage. Each breed of horse adds up to 100%. And then down the bottom, as we work through, we're looking at great, good, average, not good, and shit. And if you could think about this as if you were to buy 100 horses, right? We're trying to go, what are the chances of me getting these horses that are going to compete on that top level, okay? This isn't necessarily competing at that level of the horse. Really, really keep that in mind, especially for the Buterins, because you may be able to pick up a competitive Z10 Buterin at a way better percent for class 5 than what's showing here. But we're talking about on an even average. So as you can see, your Nakamoto's, these are, in my opinion, the baseline bell curve for the Zed platform. They are slowly coming up. You know, most of the horses in that average section, and you have a pretty good chance of having a great horse, a really good chance of having a good horse, and just on the other side of that, you have the same chances of a not so good and shit horse. Zabo horses are really fascinating. I love this breed of horse. I have put a lot of time into buying these horses, racing them, and training them. I think they're a really key aspect in the future of the game. They're still super rare. There's only 1,000 of each Z3 and Z4. And I do believe that these horses can be and currently are more valuable than most Nakamoto's in the platform. Complete opinion. Mostly based off this is what I've seen. So instead of having a single bell curve like the other breeds have, you have this double bell. I don't think there's many Z3s out there and Z4s out there that are average horses. I think for the Zabo breed, you have either a really good / great horse at a higher chance of a sort of Nakamoto, or that they're better than the Nakamotos. And then you sort of have that back end bell as well. I do think maybe looking at this, it maybe skewed a little bit too heavily towards the good when I drew this out. But this is just a really good visual of what that double bell looks like. I do think that may come down a bit and on the good, great, and up a bit on the not so good and shit. But that average really sort of sits where I think it should be. Now, when we come down to our Finnies, this is a bit more of a steady increase, but we're really hitting towards that class 4 good horse. Of course, you do have your Z7s that compete in your class 3 and 4, and definitely in your class 1. But that's on a really small scale, right? So you're looking at, I'd say, 2.5% for great, up to 7.5% for good. Your average kicks up a lot better than your Z10, so your Buterin breed, sorry. And it sort of peaks in the not good and then comes down to your shit horses, for lack of a better term. Buterins, these are fun horses, right? I've talked about this in other videos about creating armies of Z10s. The reason you need an army is because, as you can see by these stats, if you want to compete at that class 1 and class 2 level with a Buterin horse, you need to have a heap of them. Even at class 3, in my opinion, as well. So what I've got here is about 1 in 10 horses of a Z10 will compete at a class 3 level, in my opinion. But also, having said that, I do believe at a lesser chance to your Z1s and the other breeds, but they will compete. So as you see, it kicks up, you know, rubbish in the grade, because I haven't seen many Z10s. There may be like a 1, 2, or 3 that are competing at the peak of Z1 and the rest of them. And then you start to slowly work your way up, and you have some fun in class 4 and 5 for Buterin. So look, I hope that helps. As I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's not completely backed by accurate data right now. I do think that I'm, 75 to 90% on track with this in building it out. It will be interesting for me to see what happens when I back that up with some data and actually what this looks like. I'm going away for 2 or 3 weeks now, so I won't be able to build this out until when I get back. So I know there's some other data crazy guys out there. Hey, DM me, ping me. I'd love to see what you can come up with. Maybe we can work on something together to sort of share the resource of building this out and see if we can get a couple of different data sets to make this a really good, true indication of where those horses sit at. Good luck in the marketplace, everyone. I'm going to be signing out of Discord. I've got a heap of things to do today. I'm not buying in the marketplace. Unfortunately, I am chockers with my horses at the moment, and looking to train the next breed of champions out on the racetrack over the next couple of months for me to then flip and keep going. So, hey, look, if I have been chatting to you and I have been giving you advice in Discord, good luck. please send me your purchases. I'd really like to see them. If I don't reply for even today or a little while, don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm just super busy with some other personal things going on today. So good luck on the racetrack when I see you out there finally, and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers.